Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and hello. Good morning to the United States and to that fantastic time zone. Good evening to our German viewers and listeners and to the European community. Today, we go for something, well, it is known as the digital workplace. And I wondered when my colleague and friend Martin came around and discussed with us a concept where he thought, this is valuable, this is interesting to talk about, this is interesting to research about, this is interesting to consult on. And there were several question marks in other people's faces. And I saw that. I saw good drawing of the idea. He explained it, and I simply fall in love with it. So that is one of the reasons why I thought it is a splendid idea to have Martin as our expert today. Welcome, Martin. And now I'm going forward to give the floor to you, Martin, as it is interesting for our audience to learn a bit about who you are, where you come from, and what you did at the start of your career before we met, such as you have been in a role at university in Würzburg. And if I recall right, the professor's name was Tommy.
You recall right. Thanks for having me, Ralph. Yeah. 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, I started in programming. I'm still a student at university and then changed to business analytics. Went to work for BARC, the Business Application Research Center, as employee number 4. And depending on how you count it, it's been my 20th year now working for them. And first started with processes and really getting people excited about software, getting people excited about new ways of working. And it was a natural transition to move with the processes from inside of the company outside. I did my PhD on how to design processes that really support business users, that are fun to use, that are really the basics, just what you need, but just the right thing you need. And then we adapted that to the digital workplace model and also to all the topics related to customer experience and customer relationship management. And I've been doing consulting on that for more than 10 years now.
Wow.
No, we don't ask about ages.
They're all young men.
What's the main changes in this time?
The way people approach those aspects. So when I started out, we had some projects where we really had to fight for universal involvement. So there was just one unit, maybe it was just sales or just marketing. Management didn't pay any attention. And it's been more in the focus of management. They really understand that the way they are perceived in the market, their services and products is perceived, the way the whole interaction with the customer is perceived is a really measure of success. So they do get involved in it in some way. What's also changed is that it's even harder to find good people and they need a right working environment. So if they say, I don't have any time working for my customer, I spend all my time looking for information, redoing processes that aren't working, trying to step on the toes of my colleagues because they should have provided some information. That has certainly changed. And from a technology point of view, there are so many service-oriented offers out there. It's really become a best-of-breed playground, meaning it's very easy for a small department to get a solution, but how to combine that into a big picture, that is even more of a problem now. Usually they have a very big system, which didn't really work, but you could get some processes running on there, and they had their checkbox, okay, we did a CRM system. Now they've got 8 systems, of which they know what 5 of them are doing. They don't know if they're compliant to data-related issues, if they're actually building a common model on how to understand their customers. And that's really what is pushing our projects. How do we combine all of both the systems and the enthusiasm, because what we usually have, we have the big system that was bought by the company, which isn't used because there was no more money available for training. And you've got all the small solutions, which are very popular in the departments, but which don't really add up to make a big picture.
And what happened then? They implemented, the departments implemented another system? What happened then?
Well, we really do see a lot of Excel sheets. And then you've got the secretaries trying to combine those sheets. I mean, it's one of my favorite processes is customer relationship management in form of really getting your key accounts to attend your events. So you've got your marketing solutions, you've got your CRM solutions, you've got your campaign solutions. And basically what it's doing is, okay, give it to my assistant because she or he knows who's important to me. They will provide the information because I don't care about all the different data pools that we have. And those 150 people we will probably invite, and we'll probably do it by hand because I do not understand the campaign management system. And then all of those systems are basically idle in the background, not doing anything of much value. And that's done by the same people who 5 minutes prior to that said, our main problem is we do not have time for anything. We have so many Excel sheets and we have to do so much manual process. And since they don't trust those central systems, they don't really have any initiative to move away from there. And here we are really trying to understand them, what's their fear, what's their motivation, and move away from that, because everybody's talking about artificial intelligence and microservices and combining everything. And basically what is done, it's built an extra screen, an extra wall for people who do not really understand what the big picture is. And so they don't trust anything and result to go back to Outlook and Excel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Excel for the past 40 years has probably been the most used CRM program in the world, which is a horrifying thought, but a true one.
And then
Despite the fact it's not a CRM program.
Yeah. Then basically you've got 100 CRMs within one company. And one of our customers said, we really knew we had to act when one year as a Christmas present, we are giving away coasters for glasses. And the customer sent us a picture of his coaster tower because he had received 18 of them. So basically any person he ever talked to at that company sent him a coaster and said, it's great for my children to play with, but didn't you just have a lecture on data quality?
Well, the appropriate response is, of course, you are so valuable to us, we couldn't give you enough.
Yeah.
And what did you give away?
Untersetzer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Coasters you put under glasses.
I learned a new word. Yeah.
So did I. Untersetzer.
Yeah, just the other word, right?
Well, it's a cool toy to play with. I agree. And what I learned is that you are very much into not only thinking about processes, but that you dig in very deeply, and you are very committed to quality, Martin. As when you were not happy with your doctorate at a certain momentum, because working on one end, writing on the doctorate, that you rewrote it several times because you felt it's no longer on point. And
I really need to get on a roll. So I think for the first time in 10 years, I really had like 4 weeks off. And then I basically did 150 pages of that. I had it all in my mind. The worst part was adding all of the notes. So I could write it from what I knew, but then I had, of course, to add 400 books to say other people have also thought of some of these aspects, and by combining them, I deserve to get that. But it really
academical quotes,
yeah. It was a project that was a model that was really hardened in reality. So we basically, long before the book was finished, we were conducting our projects by doing that logic, really differentiating between what does a customer ask for, what's his real need, maybe we need to change that, and really go into detail there. And what I also find is very, very crucial to finding a solution, really find the different layers to it, because more than one or two times I've been involved in a project. Okay, we've been trying to solve this for a year now, and the only thing we got is that people are now calling each other names because they are so really fighting for their thing. And okay, you're using the same word, but you're following two different ideas. So maybe we take a step back, and then we can really try, okay, what's your need? What's your need? How can we combine them? And very rarely did I have to really tell one team, okay, you need to take a step back because the other team is more important. It's usually a way to combine those, but only if you really layer it out and say, okay, it's not one topic, it's 5 topics, and we need to address them one by one. So people combine too many things into one question, and then the answer is too complex for them to handle.
Now we have covered PhD thesis, check. We have covered lots of CRM systems, check. And we have had a great example with the 18 coasters. So that directly leads to 2 questions. Basically, first is the generic one. How does especially this example relate to workplace? And secondly, specifically, what did this company do?
What they did was
Manufactured coasters.
Probably, yeah.
We really moved backward from, okay, this is the result. Why did we get that result? Because on paper, we have got one central CRM system, and we've got the commitment from everyone to only use the processes assigned to the CRM system. So we needed to admit to ourselves that, okay, people are obviously not following the processes. Why? Mm-hmm. And it's what's not to be mean to the boss. Obviously, they do not trust something. They do not have a certain functionality. And then we really got into, okay, as you just mentioned, Marshall, we've got one CRM system, but we've got 100 Excel sheets. So basically, we've got 101 CRM systems. Why are those Excel sheets done? Everybody's complaining about the manual labor involved with them, but they have additional information on interactions. These were not entered into the system. Sometimes there wasn't a way to enter them. Sometimes it was too complex. One section was never ever trained on the system, so they didn't know how to use it, as it was very specifically customized. I had no idea either before I had some sort of introduction on, you can find it on the 3rd layer to the left. I didn't even see that it was another layer in there. And then we moved backwards to, okay, what did you actually try to achieve? And some of it, as it was 16 coasters, we had a problem of 2 people really thinking they were the key account, and everybody else was saying, a coaster doesn't cost much, I'll just try it. I'll send out 200 coasters, and maybe I'll get 5 replies. And if there are 2 projects out there, it's a great way to do additional business without really thinking, okay, maybe I've had a 5-minute conversation with that person, and somebody else has been working together with them for 10 years. Maybe we should try to have a more comprehensive approach. And then we really got to, okay, what is a user interface problem? What is a data quality problem? And what is a process problem? And in that particular aspect, it was not really a data quality problem. It was not like, okay, we didn't know that this Hans Müller and this Hans Müller are the same person because Müller was spent with UE that one time. They knew it was the same person. They just didn't care.
How did they overcome?
They really try to cater to the benefit of those individual people. Okay, what do you want to achieve? You want to have success with the clients. You want to have revenue, and you want to have a good reputation. So do we agree that it's not the best way to present ourselves? Yes, everybody agreed. So maybe it's also an aspect of mutual respect. If I respect your key accounts, you probably respect my key accounts. am I a regional key account manager or a topical manager? If I'm a topical manager, we are natural collaborators, because obviously we need to work together to sell our point. And here we really talk to them about how to do business. There were some aspects, of course, when some people mentioned everybody has to really abide to this, but me. I may do anything I like, but everybody else has to, share the information they have of my customers and say, we all play by the same rules. So if you want to be handled the right way, you also need to handle your colleagues the right way. And what we did then is, if you do it the right way, you will have, and then we added the benefits: less manual labor, a complete history. Because if we ask people, okay, do you know how many things you sent to that customer over the last 5 years? Not really, because I would have to look into my Outlook, into several Excel sheets and so on. And we really try to build a bridge towards everybody with an individual benefit. And I've been doing consulting projects, simple consulting projects, for 20 years now. And if you count my background in development, it's been 24 years. I don't care what industry you're working in. If it's manufacturing, if it's trading, if it's especially anything with a social aspect, nobody will work in a better way for the company to benefit. They need to have an individual benefit. And we really try to break it down. If you do it the right way, then you will have better data, your customers will be better taken care of, and so on.
Okay, so now this basically boils down to, there's a cultural aspect, there is a radio station aspect, what's in it for me, WIIFM, all right? In how far does technology contribute to a more collaborative workplace?
May I suggest here that we show once that diagram and give an explanatory background, as it is suiting you as well, Thomas.
If we can just switch to that for a second. We've got a model of 7 layers for the digital workplace, because that is something that we always have in our projects to really address all the topics that are of interest to our customer. Basically, what many of them are looking at is a process view. So I need to communicate with my customers. I need to have better collaboration inside of my department, across departments, and so on. And more often than not, there are tools out there. I've been, a vendor has told me something about this. I've seen a software presentation. I probably need that. First, we try to combine those two. So are there any requirements connected to the tools? Are the tools really answering those requirements? And then we move downwards. Okay, those tools are only of value if they provide a way to use information. So that means a key aspect is to have the right information available, but also to really narrow it down, have the right dashboards, have the right way to look at those. The center of it on the process level, that's our information and process portal. That's the real digital workplace aspect of it. And it always combines content and functionality, because more often than not, people are looking for search engines. And from my experience, having no data and having 1,000 data sets, it's just 2 different forms of being very, very unhappy. I need to have the 10 data sets that I need right now. What did I do with the customer, or what types of customers are having that need, and so on. On the lower level, then we have, of course, technology and security. That is something that people don't usually care about unless it's not there, and then it's a major problem, but we need to take care of that as well. But what we really try to also stress is, of course, we've got data, processes, and tools, but we need to have the right framework, meaning somebody out there should say, what are we doing this for? There needs to be a vision on it, something that we can really strive to achieve, and not just in 14 days, but in 2 to 5 years' time. We really want to change the way we are working, and that is broken down into culture, governance, and project management, meaning, do I have the right training? Are there any obstacles in it? For example, with CRM, I often find that the sales incentives and marketing incentives are not aligned. So marketing is doing something for clicks, not for leads, which is, of course, not really helping the sales organization. And then we always need also a project and change management thing, For example, when I work with Ralph always asks, okay, I know how much money you reserved to really buy software, to buy consulting. What's your budget for training, for continuous training, for having someone within your organization to really manage those processes? And that's also something that we stress, having somebody in there as either a guide or sometimes a sheriff to really ensure that this is the way they can go about doing their business.
What works better, the sheriff or the guide?
Usually in the beginning, we need to have the sheriff. It's like, going to class, like in kindergarten. First, you have to have somebody, listen, and once everybody's paid attention, then you can be the nice person.
Okay.
I've seen it several times. I have a very, in my mind, there are always images coming up, and sometimes somebody's approaching me like, okay, so you're the consultant, yeah? Let's see who's the fastest draw in this town. And then in my mind, there's always the same picture of Bruce Lee doing this.
Yeah.
We exchange a few sentences.
Come get some.
And usually by that time, okay, the consultant knows what he's doing. He could probably prove me wrong in front of an audience, which I do not want, but he gave me a path to go by, because I say, okay, I don't think this is the way to do it, but if you do it the other way, then this would be your benefit. And so I try to really showcase everybody it's far better to work with us than against us, or to work with the organization than against the organization. And here's where technology really comes into play, coming back to your question just before. All of those ideas we have got so many more opportunities to really realize them. A key aspect is interface design. And we've got interface technology within the systems. We've got ways, portal technologies and other things to really put a layer on there. We've got analytics, dashboards, and so on to really cater to different needs. And a lot of the projects that I've seen that really came to a halt, they put everything into a central system, but provided everything to the users. So, hey, we've got all of the information of your customers. Here are 1,000 data sets on your customer. Maybe I need a dashboard. Maybe I need a specific view from a process point of view, from a product point of view, just that customer in the last 6 months and so on, to really being able to process that information within my head and to have an actionable result to work there. And that is something that we really do. And that has changed the way we do our projects. When I started all those years ago, I think like 70% of my time was devoted to real software selection. Now it's much more organizational stuff and combining existing systems or changing the way existing systems are handled. I mean, if you hear something like, oh, I hate that SAP system, why? Nobody can work with it. Well, you customized it that you have 80 fields in one dashboard. If you had chosen any other system and customized it that way, it would also be quite burdensome to handle. Maybe spread it out a little.
So what is the role of implementation partners then? Now that we are customizing.
They need to be knowledgeable in the system and in the industry or in the process, and they need to have a real backbone. They really need to stand by their point. And if they're only looking for the quick buck, that's the wrong implementation partner, because they will implement anything. Oh, I knew that would never work, but it cost $20,000 to put it in there. It will probably cost $10,000 to put it out there in 6 months. And we'll just do it every time. And there's a new requirement, and without really asking any questions, we put it in there. And if you've got a good implementation partner, he will say, okay, explain to me why you want that. What's the use case? Have you talked about with the user group yourself, or is it some sort of wrong caring for your colleagues, which I've also seen? Oh, those colleagues, they're all over 40. They cannot do any mobile. I know those guys. They're very mobile. They could do everything on their mobile, both business oriented and one. You've never talked to them, but you've got all of your prejudice, and so you're changing the systems get it in there, and if not only the consulting in the beginning of the project, but also your implementation partner while doing the project, while expanding the project, will always ask why. And maybe I've got a different solution which is much closer to the standard. Maybe that will also help you. That is something that is very important.
Okay, in a little detour, let's challenge that thought a little. So I'm doing consulting also for 20 years, plus minus, and with and for consulting companies. And on the other side, and what I often see is that the main decision criterion of customers is dollars, means less dollars. The more likely you get, well, the cheaper you are, the more likely you get the project, which is contradicting your argument.
Well, I think it's also an aspect of really educating the customer, which is also something that we try to look at. Okay, what were you asking your implementation partner to do? So, we went for the daily rate. Brilliant. So you've got somebody with a lower daily rate, but who has a 5-person team working for you full time, whereas somebody else has a higher daily rate and works alone or with 2 people on it. Do you have a specific use case to rate your implementation partner? And that's where we really try to help our customers make the right decision, and also showcase if you go the wrong way, you're only hurting yourself, because what will you do? If you really do go the wrong way for 5 years, you will probably change your implementation partner. He will take your money and leave and look for another customer. It will probably take some joy out of their lives, but the real party hurt here is the company itself. And here we really try to educate the customers that it's not the quick buck, so to speak, that you should look at. It's not the daily rate.
Or the overall project budget. When the consultancy A charges X bucks and consultancy B charges X bucks plus some, of course I go for consulting agency A because they are cheaper.
We also try to showcase as same thing with when we are looking for a new customer. We are not the cheapest consultants on the market, but we try to showcase our added value. So are you really comparing 3 different kinds of apple, or you're comparing apples to oranges, and maybe the orange is quite sweeter? So the additional money is also additional value. But of course, that always means that you get to a point where you can actually talk to the customer. And there are some major companies out there who will just give you a written form, fill in your daily rate, fill in 5 sentences about you, and it's a lottery then.
Coming a bit back to workplace, so to the other workplace, not the consultants one. Another part that you mentioned repeatedly was collaboration, cooperation in between people.
Yeah,
very important.
Yeah, what is the main challenge there right now? Getting people to collaborate and keeping data information together then.
I would like to add to that the challenging starting point when you introduced first your model to the team 2019, that was pre-pandemic. And then at a sudden, the pandemic event took place. And did you feel that there was an urge from that starting point on to rethink collaboration and communication?
Certainly, but the groundwork was already laid. Basically, what the pandemic did was digitalization projects were always, we do that in 6 months' time. Whenever you ask them, we do it in 6 months. And then suddenly you did have to work digitally because we were no longer allowed to share a room. And regarding collaboration, people needed to adopt digital tools. That was really something where COVID actually helped digitalization. But we face different problems now. So one of the key aspects that we still have is some people do not want to share information because that makes them valuable. People have to ask them. They've got the great parking spot and so on. It's my customer, so I'm always involved. I always get some sort of sales cut because I'm the key account manager, even if I do not actually add any value to it. But the other thing we see with as COVID had a very, very short preparation time to it. People bought systems, bought software to be able to work in some form. So now collaboration is, okay, I sent you the information. Brilliant. Did you put it on the common storage in the CRM system, in our chat system? What did you put it in Teams, and so on and so on and so on? It's a zoo of systems out there. And of course, that is quite dangerous from a data protection side, but it also is killing efficiency. And that is something where collaboration is really hurt now, because if I share something with you on channel A, I think I did a good job, and nothing will happen from it, because you probably look for channels C and D and were asking, okay, wasn't Martin supposed to share something? Well, probably the customer was no longer interested in it. And having that zoo of systems out there is something that we really need to deal with in the coming years.
It's not only the systems, but also the communications channels. So when I look at myself, so I think I have half a dozen email addresses. I have more than that. Well, I use Teams. I use the Google variant of Teams, the Google Messenger. There's Slack, right? There's Slack. This other tool. I use Click. I have at least 5 messenger channels, and I know someone who's in this room, by the way, who has already lost track of his email addresses. How to get that consolidated?
Well, usually what we try to do is really focus on a main process at first. Okay, we cannot lose any good opportunities anymore. So if it's a lead, if it's a key indication, then there's a key channel to share that information on. And here, of course, you're right to mention that it's the channel approach. That's what I meant by saying a system approach. We need to make sure that we are aligned on the way we communicate for the really important stuff. Key example, a system that you didn't mention right now is OneNote. Okay, I can do two things now. I can have everybody abandon OneNote, and some people love their notes in OneNote. Or I can say, okay, you can have all your notes, but if you only enter it in OneNote, we cannot use it in data analytics. We cannot use it for campaign management. It's not available for your colleague, and so on. So, these key data fields, these key pieces of information need to be input into the central process, the central channel, and so on. And then hopefully I can get people to move away from it. But some things will not change. The key aspect is that really important? For example, one of the customers in a construction related company said, I will always keep my OneNote because here I have some personal information that I'm probably not even allowed to store anymore. But I need to make sure that if I'm talking to Mr. Müller and the Nuremberg Football Club has lost yet again, then I need to say my condolences, but at least, you're probably not moved down this year again. I will probably not even be allowed to store it in the central system. But is that of key interest to anybody else? Probably not. But if I store something, okay, I bought the first one, I need 20 more, and I only saw that in my OneNote, then it's really hurting the company. So we're trying to, again, say, okay, these are the key aspects, put them in the central processes.
Out of a private interest of one of our viewers, the oldest independent analyst, CRM analyst in the arena, Rich Böhn, who wrote me personally a mail and asked you to be asked if you had relatives in the United States, ancestors, because they were doing some ancestry and were looking for a lost sheep of their herd, and probably that your part of the family could be the lost ones they are looking for.
I was just thinking about Rich the other day.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, you can give him the answer personally tomorrow, whatever comes now.
Yes.
do you have had a family spin to the US?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Well,
Nobody,
unfortunately,
nobody they're willing to admit to.
Well, granddad was an attractive man. But nothing that I know.
So back to the collaboration tool. So now I love my Apple Notes. Same thing. Yeah. So nobody can see them unless I explicitly export and share them. Means whatever I take as notes, Ralph and Marshall will never see. How to overcome this behavior? Apart from that, some of the notes probably are not appropriate to be shared.
Yeah. I've lost faith in really finding a way to get rid of them. The key aspect is, okay, it's your own personal, private way of working. It's something you can do in your off time. You need to make sure that you still invest enough of your time in your business activities. Some people want to store additional information. Some people want to store information in a different way. As you just mentioned, in the CRM system, I will probably use a more sophisticated way of wording certain aspects. Is open for additional support in handling the process, whereas okay, too dumb to start up his computer, will never know how to work Outlook, has no idea how to use our process. The key thing is to really enroll everybody in those major processes. And then I've had some people really keep substantial notes in their private files, and sometimes it moved away from them. If they want it, it's their personal pleasure. What we cannot have, of course, is somebody doing 6 hours of work within their private notes and 2 hours of work for the customer. Then we've got a problem. Unless, of course, in those 2 hours of work, you mentioned to get a $1 million deal every second day, then feel free to do whatever you want to do. You can play Candy Crush as well.
Yeah, still, now this is in my private notes. This is business information. This is information. Let's say we are all analysts, right? So it was a briefing of customer A or vendor A, which is relevant to all 3 of us or all 4 of us if we add you. Yeah. So if I put that into my own notes, then the knowledge is not shared. Simple as.
Yeah.
And this is detrimental to the joint business.
But the key aspect is, what kind of information do you need to share? I need to know, when did you last interact for a specific project or a specific need? So if the customer says, okay, I was looking for mobile support, I already asked Thomas about it, I'm sure you're here to give me the answer, then I will not like you not having shared that information, because then it really is a bad way to communicate and to present our joint company. If I do not know that he's a fan of the Raiders or the Chicago Bulls and so on, and so I will never have that personal connection that you share with that customer, I can probably live with that. So we need to take into account what kind of information is relevant. If you met that person last Sunday at a game, you can choose not to share that information. But the key information that you got when you visited a customer for our company, that's something that I need to know. And here we are really trying to move away from a technology and system approach to an information approach. Then it's not black or white, and I can gradually shift them, because I will probably not be able to take away their system, but I can get some of the key information out of there and into the key systems.
I can get it out. So because I put it down. I put it down in my system, and then I leave, and then you also have the nice to knows, or do not have the nice to knows anymore, because, well, it's my Rolodex, right?
Yeah. Now we're talking about different things. The whole offboarding is another topic in itself. If we're talking about the operational sharing of data, then of course we have a way to somewhat monitor that, because we all agreed that you should share information. If you do not agree from the first start, then we've got a problem that we probably have to discuss, with the gloves off, either with our manager or really, okay, this is no way of working. Either you change or it's the end of our collaboration. If people are faced with that, usually they put in the key information in the central system and it works fine from there. If they are willing to change from a competitor, then there's nothing I can do. Okay, Martin got on my nerves. I will probably go to another company. Everything for the 3 best customers that really like me will no longer be entered. I can try to take it to court, but it's to no avail.
Yeah, but when he takes it to another company, it will still only last so long before his supervisor at that place says, share your information in the proper way, or we have to part ways.
Yeah, I mean,
you can only kick a person down the road so many times.
I mean, you see that if you prepare for an interview within a consulting project, and you see on LinkedIn, okay, this person has had 20 employees in the last 15 years. Let's talk about information sharing. And I've had it in the last year where somebody actually saying, okay, they didn't hire my personality or my skill, they hired my network. And my current employer may benefit from my network for as long as I choose to remain with that, and then I will move on. But Marshall, as you mentioned, it's a bit of a gambit, because not everybody is willing to do that, and it's calculating in a way, okay, probably I get my money's worth in those 18 months or 9 months that he will stay with me. And of course, it always works 2 ways now, because the moment that you share your contact, I know there's a contact out there. So the moment you leave and say, okay, oh, so sorry, Thomas is no longer with us. You know him. He didn't share a lot of information, but we've got other great colleagues. Maybe we can get to talk with him. And if I only get 1 or 2 of your customers down the road, it will get also a problem with you. We really try to showcase a benefit of working together, because everything where you just use a way of executing force, there's a limit to that. I cannot have somebody look over your shoulder 24 hours a day.
Yeah, and well, there's the notion, the physics notion, every force creates counter force. So, and then we are back to the radio station. So how do you entice me?
Well,
how do you show me the value? What is my value of giving away the power of my data, my information? It's my information, not yours.
Well, we're trying to draw a bigger picture. So the things we had in the projects right now is there were some basic things like, okay, do you really want to input all of your information yourself, or do you want to have an assistant? Well, of course, if the assistant is, your wife, your niece, your sister, probably they will be very closely connected to you, not to the company, but that is one way to approaching it. Another aspect we really saw is with the real rise of intelligent campaign management, that only works if the data is in a central system. So being able to identify new business opportunities, to combine interactions of the customer on a different channel. For example, he was on the website, he was on an event, talked to other colleagues, to really cross-reference it with your information. We need your information. Or, as you just mentioned, if you're not sharing any information, I will probably assign a different colleague to following up that opportunity. What we also saw is quite a few companies are trying to build a matrix organization on somebody who's responsible for a certain industry or a certain country. So probably also responsible for a certain person with topical aspects. And those topic experts require a basic form of collaboration, because basically to really sell a big project, it needs to be 2 of us. And for aiming to be 2 of us, probably the topical expert will not tolerate not being able to prepare on his own. So with 5 colleagues, I just look into central systems, but with you, I've got to phone you, I can't reach you, you've sent me an email, you sent me yet another email. And that is something where, first of all, it really comes to light that somebody is not playing by the rules. And it's also a way of trying to really showcase a sort of give and take. I mentioned that quite a few people have that behavior because it's cumbersome to use a system that you don't fully understand.
Mhm.
They don't really have a full view on, I input that data anyway into my Excel sheet and so on. It's just another way. It's not really saving a lot of time. And if I benefit from the standard processes, it will also work with that. But if you have somebody like, okay, I'm just waiting for the next headhunter and I need to take 5 key accounts with me, then it's a whole different ball game. Then you really have some organizational issues on their hand. And that's where it's limited.
Yeah. So,
Somebody is not like on the behavior sitting on his information and wants to keep it and wants to be the rocket man and be the one with the only knowledge. And we go for a positive approach of what benefit is in the digital workplace concept. What were your findings so far since you started working with the concept and put it into place?
We have far more context. Digital workplace is really providing context by having those specific use and really showcasing, okay, this user group for this use case needs that functionality and that content. It's clear for everybody, which means that context creates easier processes. I know what to do. It's less time searching for information, looking for the right next task and so on. Context also provides a way to use analytics in a far better way, whether it's just crunching the data or using artificial intelligence to streamline processes, to automate some part of the process. That is also something where we saw some real benefits, which of course then also were additional added value to the specific users. So the more complex things get, the more cumbersome it gets to work in my own systems, and the better it is to work in the central systems. But context is key.
And there they then can be shown that they have the benefit which is in for them.
So basically, we try to flip it on the head. When we talked about it, there's a lot of Excel. So with Excel, we have one technology, 100 different systems, and now we have one system, 100 different views. So it is combined in one system, but it's under specific guidelines, it's on specific security. I only get the relevant information, but also connected to the others. So maybe my customers was as a trade fair where I didn't attend, but my colleague attended, and he will give me a heads up by entering the information into the system in the most easy way possible. And here we really see people, okay, I'm trying to see your point in it. I really see that I'm not doing it for the company, I'm also doing it for myself.
How do trending technologies like a cognitive search, low-code, no-code, or, well, the current topic du jour, generative AI, cater into that? Collaboration as well as information retrieval. Context.
Information retrieval, it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you have more ways to access information, even if you input it in a structured way, because probably there's a lot of artificial intelligence that can get some sort of connection between things and filter out synonyms, get to the right context and so on. But we see a lot of those. There's the Excel cowboys and there's also the Google cowboys. And we've seen some of the Google cowboys. Okay, now when I see the framework and the context, I will probably use a more specific search, because then I know how to really make use of the results. But the better those enterprise search engines get, the longer it takes in the beginning to make people see that structure is probably also a good thing. Because what I always love is, well, at home on my Mac, I've got artificial intelligence and all my documents are inserted automatically. Yes, you've got 6 folders and 150 documents. Congratulations, your artificial intelligence for $100 was able to sort those. Here it's a bit more complex and we've got more structures.
Where do I get a Mac for $100?
No, that's the software. Regarding what we see is of course, voice recognition, speech recognition. We see another way of moving towards the really value-added aspects. I mean, email response management has been around for 20 years now. So why should I address a human agent to, will my package arrive tomorrow or 2 days from now? And now it's a broader approach on what kind of questions can be answered either by the system itself or where the system can really assist an agent by providing the correct information, which frees up time to really go deeper and say, okay, here's something where I really need an expert to take some time, look into what the customer's real problem is and come up with a correct solution. And this is aiding the overall project because more and more stuff can be handled by a system as well.
Where do you see the future, Martin, of the digital workplace? And especially my hobby, empathy, and how empathy is getting into the game and being placed in action and put into action. Where is the digital workplace a helping hand in the organizational experience, which I would like to see as a synopsis or synthesis of employee experience and customer experience?
Well, it's a good way to really showcase that it takes everything to make a full picture. So it's not only data, it's not only channels towards the customer, it's not only internal processes, but it's the combination of all of those and to align them that really makes a successful project and makes content and happy people involved in there, both customers, prospects, but also suppliers and of course the employees. And usually that concept of the digital workplace open up their minds. It's not something that, we showcased the model. There will be a written test on it the next workshop. I don't care if you remember that security is a key aspect of it. But usually what people take away from it, okay, first thing, I need to combine information with tools and organization. So I need to think about what I really want to do. Do I have the right resources? Do I have the right training to make use of all of those systems? And the other thing it really gives a perspective on how to break down end-to-end processes into different use cases. So maybe there's a different way of interacting with process and with existing customers and so on. Well, it should be quite obvious, but for a lot of customers, it really takes rethinking their approach and then doing it one by one. And that is the key aspect we have here. Really show empathy towards everybody involved. It's not something where if you have a better service for the customer, it automatically means that the employee will have a harder day. If we think about it right, everybody has greater joy in working in the right way.
Yeah, but some things are only obvious when they're pointed out to you.
I mean, I've had some, back in the days when we still had the workshops on site, I've had several customers, and this is a direct quote, asked me when we approached the lunch area, have you ever seen an organization like ours that is has their head either stuck in the cloud or stuck in the dirt and is doing their processes that way? We don't care. We will not look back. It's nobody's fault. If we identify anything, it's an opportunity to do it differently in the future. And some things are very, very obvious. So what? So we found them now. It's better than tomorrow.
Good.
And still it doesn't change. Why?
Well, you had to go there, huh?
Of course. That door was wide open. Wide open.
It's the nature of people. I mean, my wife is a special needs children's teacher. And when we compare our days, they're quite similar. Okay, I've got 3 children here, and they've really got problems figuring out when it goes beyond 10. There are 2 numbers and how those interact when you add them together. Well, I've had 3 people with a PhD in my workshop, and they failed to understand that marketing and sales should probably work together. But we worked on it. We did a picture of it, and everybody could put in their 2 cents, and we all agreed that we probably should work together in the future.
So means that the kids that your wife educates now are future managers?
Well, they've got some of the aspects right. They probably have got a bigger empathy.
Well, the kids.
Yeah.
But how is empathy expressed in this setting? What is empathy in this business setting? It's a favorite topic between Ralph and I, by the way.
Well, we've also had those discussions. For me, for empathy to work, there's always a dollar sign assigned to it. Empathy means I can do a process in a cheaper way, or I can make more revenue. I can make my customer happy, which results in that customer buying more, referencing, being a showcase, aiding me in providing better services and so on. Spending $1 to make my customer happy just because he's happy is probably not an investment I will make very often. But empathy to me is working in a way to strengthen the business relationship, to strengthen revenue. So it's not a target in itself, but it's a combination on how to do business. Because for me as a customer, I don't want to have the feeling that I'm your meal ticket. I want to feel that I'm valuable to you. So of course, I'm using your services and products, but you're selling the best stuff you had to make my life easier.
So a machine can do that.
It can be simulated.
I think we are
Now
probably...
his favorite sentence will come. If it talks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, it should be a duck. Yeah, something like that.
What quacks like a duck.
Yeah.
That it is a duck.
I think we'll be the last ones to go when the machines take over, because as long as there are people there that need to be pampered and pushed in the right way, in the right combination, it will need a knowledgeable and empathetic consultant to really build a bridge for them. You can choose to remain the same, or there's a brighter future ahead, and that it will also benefit the rest of the company. And here's something where both simple facts will not be enough, or a happy smiling computer face will not be enough.
Well, let's look at it a bit like Schrödinger, the guy with the cat.
Yeah.
So unless you open it, you don't know whether it's a machine or a man. And then it's dead if you open it, but that's the other thing.
Well,
Schrödinger meets Turing.
Yeah.
If they can replicate me, then they're welcome to do so. It would probably take a bit of time to do so. I think that quite a few tasks can be done by a machine, but we are working towards a different future. I mean, a lot of the shocks we faced in the past, especially like 115 years from now, a lot of labor was lost, but look at the kind of labor that was done there. Hey, you've had a great working life. You die at 45. And we are moving towards a different way of organization, of culture, and we need to place some of those tasks towards machines, but to really showcase, to educate, to talk with people, that will probably take some time. But still, here I also like things like artificial intelligence to challenge me, to generate ideas and so on. Maybe it thinks of something that I did not think of, but I can probably combine it in a different way.
Now you talked about empathy towards customers. How about empathy towards employees? Employers probably didn't like your mention of the dollar sign, so spend a few dollars more on the employee, which is a big no-no probably.
Well, it's really a question of looking at the total cost of employees. Okay, I can try to milk you for the last dollar in this quarter, and then you will leave this company. You will take two of the customers with you. How long will it take me to find somebody to take your spot, to train that person, to find some of those customers, combined to what do you really want? And of course, there are those people there. What I really want is $200 more a month. But most people I know, I want respect. I want a different way of working. I want something else. And those incentives are really valuable. What it really costs is time in management. And we've got a lack in management training.
Continuing the bad guy routine. Now, I, employer, of course, am accountable to my board and my stakeholders, no, the shareholders in specific, they care about the quarterly results. So well done. The numbers are up.
Yeah, but you also want to speak in front of that committee 2 years from now.
Maybe
That's
not.
really we see a difference also in the types of customer we have.
Yeah.
Some are very US driven, so this quarter and then who cares? I will probably switch companies as well. So all of the scorched earth I leave at my customer, my successor can deal with that. But if you're dealing with somebody who's really trying to build stronger customer relationships and who has seen the value of a good customer relationship, not having to find a new customer each quarter, but to upsell, to cross-sell, and so on, they will also be able to see that an investment in the current infrastructure and the current people infrastructure is valuable as well. What we really have is discussions on, okay, where to spend that dollar. Because we are moving toward a generation where a simple pay increase will not be enough. I mean, there are loads of essays from psychologists are saying a simple pay increase is actually counterproductive because it is for a very specific behavior, and it creates fear of not meeting those expectations in the next quarter. Whereas really respect, broader responsibility, allowing a different way of working is something that invests people with the company, invests people with the product, invests people with the customers, thereby hopefully rising revenue as well.
Okay, what I do think is we usually end these sessions with a famous last word questions, which I basically just asked without naming it thus.
Ooh, sneaky.
Because these have been great, famous words. Probably not your last ones ever, but hopefully not. Hopefully not.
No, I think we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, we should. We should.
It's
There
been
are
a pleasure.
lots of avenues that one can still pursue. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot from my side. It was my pleasure playing the bad guy.
And he did it like when he has the opportunity fabulously, but still with the respect you would be expecting as a friendly human being, and showing there are some little teasing opportunities I would love, such as the door which is widely open. But it was very enlightening and enchanting and inspiring. Thank you, Martin, for participating and being with us.
Yeah, and thanks for everybody who joined in, and there have been a few. So see you next week when it's going about the future of CX and the state of CX, basically. Okay, see you then, and we are going backstage now. Bye.
Bye. Stay